Welcome back to the Girly Girl Bookworm. So today I have my Booktubeathon wrap up for you. I didn't vlog, as you've noticed, and I'm kind of very glad that I didn't. It ended up being such a busy, chaotic week. I don't even know how I got 7 books in, to be honest. And it was definitely a push by the end because I ended up reading like 2.5 books in one day just to force myself to get through all the challenges. So let's just get started on all the books that I read this week. The first book that I read this week was Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie. I read this book as my book-to-movie adaptation read. I read this in preparation because I think that the new Agatha Christie movie that's coming out is Death on the Nile. So I wanted to be prepared for when that does come out. I think it doesn't actually come out till 2019. What is my hair doing? What is that? What? I don't think it comes out until 2019. I'm just gonna have to leave it like that. I don't think it comes out till 2019, but I wanted to read it in preparation for it. I have a lot of Agatha Christie on my shelf, so I didn't want those to get put in front of this one. Plus I also really like reading books way before the movie comes out sometimes because then I can't directly compare and contrast as much, especially if it's a bad adaptation. So I decided to read this now, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. This one is another Hercule Poirot mystery. He is taking this trip along the Nile in this boat. So they're in Egypt, and obviously someone turns up dead, and Poirot has to solve the mystery. I didn't love this much as I loved Murder on the Orient Express. I did figure out kind of the whodunit a little bit before it happened. I didn't feel I didn't fully get the whole twist. There was definitely a big twist at the end, and I kind of half predicted it. But I thought that it was a really good book anyways. Definitely Poirot is definitely up my style now. In the beginning, when I first started reading Hercule Poirot books, I wasn't the biggest fan of him. I read the ABC Murders first, and I didn't love it. And now that I've really started reading a lot of his mysteries, I love him so much more. So definitely another really good book by Agatha Christie. She's amazing. And then for the book of something that I wanted to do, I read The Summer House by Hannah McKinnon. I don't want to do anything in this book. I said that I wanted to go to a summer house, so this would be perfect. I also went to this completely blind. So many bad things happen in this book to these people, and I'm like, I don't want any of this to happen in my life. Please don't tell me what's happening. Oh God, what's happening? I'm having what? Oh my gosh, so for some reason I just had 1,000 pop-ups just pop up on my computer. So sorry. Didn't know how to get rid of them. Wow, what is that? Mac Auto Fixer. That just seems like that's something that should not be on my computer. Okay. I'm gonna have to figure that out later. Sorry about that. So this takes place in Rhode Island, and it follows this family, and they're going to the summer beach house. But the very first chapter starts about this woman, and she wakes up one morning. Her husband must have gone out for a run. She's waiting for him to come home. She takes the kids to the bus stop, and then all of a sudden a police officer shows up and tells her that her husband has been hit and killed. And I'm just okay, I don't want that to happen to me. Every person in this story has something that they're going through in their life that I would never in a million years want to happen to me. So did this really fulfill that challenge? I don't know, because I really don't want any of this to happen to me. So other than that, it was a really heartwarming story. So much bad stuff, but so much good stuff too. I did give this 4 stars because I love Hannah McKinnon's writing style. Very easy to read, but I don't want to do anything in this. So that was kind of sad. But I read it, so that was good. After that, I decided, why not read more sad books? And I picked up How to Walk Away by Catherine Center, and this followed my Beautiful Spine Challenge, which, of course, the whole cover is gorgeous, not just the spine. This book I have heard was really, really sad, so I was like ready for the tears. The tears didn't really come. It follows this girl, and she is involved with this man, and she ends up in an airplane, and she hates airplanes, but he kind of like convinces her. He's like about to get his pilot's license. So, come in this plane with me. She's like, fine, I really don't want to, but I will. He proposes to her in the plane, and then on their way back, they crash, and now she has no movement from her knees down. And how do you overcome that? How do you live your life after that? She's got this person that she is her like physical therapist is very rough on her, and it kind of follows like their relationship too, and like how does she deal with this fiance of hers. I thought it was really good. I gave it 4 stars, but I just didn't feel like amazed by it. It was very easy to read, very nice writing style as well, where you just can like read it and feel like you're going through it, but I just felt like I didn't love it. There was nothing that pushed it over the top for me, and I didn't cry. I feel like if I cried, this would have been 5 stars, and I cry very easily, so like the fact that I didn't cry meant that I wasn't as attached to the characters as I wanted to be. So if I cried, it would have been 5 stars, but I didn't, so 4 stars. Then, so that took me, so this was Monday read, Tuesday read, Wednesday read, and I was like on a roll, and that was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, yep. So then I got to Thursday, and I said to myself, I know I'm not going to be able to finish a book today. I had another professional development day that was 5 hours long, and I knew we were going out to eat that night with some family, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to finish this book. And out of nowhere, I just picked up an audiobook. Don't know why. I listened to it like while I was getting ready, while I drove to my professional development, during their lunch hour on the way back. And I ended up just getting so sucked in that I had to read it and finish it that day. So like I listened to it on the way to dinner and on the way back from dinner, and I just like powered through it. And then I had like 80 pages left by the end of the night, and I was like, I'm just gonna put the audiobook on hold and just finish it physically. And this book was not on my TBR. This book just kind of counts as read 7 books. And that is The Bookshop of Yesterdays by Amy Mayerson. I got this book when I was in LA, so you might have just recently seen this in one of my book hauls. It just happened to be on Hoopla, so I like grabbed it. And I'm really glad that I started this book as an audiobook. The beginning, it's just so chock full of just information, and it just felt very wordy, and there was a lot to deal with, and they make lots of references to other books and things like that, so I am 100% glad that I read this as an audiobook mostly. By the time the last 80 pages happened, it wasn't as wordy and as informational, so like I was able to just kind of read it. I gave this book another 4 stars, so far 4 books, 4 stars for all of them. And this follows a woman, and she was really close to her uncle when she was little, and then there's a falling out that happens between her family and her uncle so that she doesn't see him. And then it's like 15 years later, 20 years later, I don't remember, and she gets a letter saying that her uncle has passed. So she comes home, she leaves her boyfriend in, I want to say New York or Pennsylvania, and she leaves her teaching career to come over to this funeral, and she finds out that he left her his bookshop that he owned. So she's trying to like figure out like, should I sell it? Should I keep it? And he also kind of left her a little scavenger hunt like he used to when she was a child. So she's trying to figure out what this big blow up between her family was with him. And I enjoyed it. I didn't necessarily love the twist. There's definitely a twist at the end. Didn't really see it coming. Don't know if I loved it or if it was cliche. Like it was a very interesting twist that I did not see coming. And I don't know how I feel about it. And because I don't know how I feel about it, that's why I didn't give it 5 stars. I feel like I've been very, very hard on books lately where I don't necessarily give them 5 stars unless they have that wow, that punch, that, oh my god, I just loved this book so much. So I enjoyed this book. It was definitely more than a 3-star read, but it was definitely not a 5-star read for me. Definitely recommend the audiobook for this one instead of reading it physically. And then, so that was Thursday, and I was like, wow, wasn't expecting to finish 4 books at that point. Didn't even think I was going to finish a book that day. And then Friday rolled around, and that day turned into the day that I read nothing. I thought I was going to have, like, such a good reading day. Patrick had a golf tournament, and so I was like, oh, I'm going to get all this reading done. I gave into television, and I read 2 chapters. And we had it was like a golf tournament for a charity event, so like there was a dinner, so I went to the dinner after. So literally I read 2 chapters. Saturday rolled around, and I was like, I got to finish this. And I got to, but what were we doing Saturday? We had stuff that was going on Saturday too. I can't recall what we did. But I was able to get as far as possible, but I still had 100 pages left to go. And then Sunday was the day where I was like, this is crunch time. So I finished the last 100 pages of The Girl Who Knew Too Much by Amanda Quick. So this book took me 3 days to finish. Didn't need to, but like I said, I read it very slowly, like I read 2 chapters. And then I read all of it but 100 pages, and then the last 100 pages for Sunday. This book is with green on the cover, so it's got little bits of green everywhere. It was originally supposed to be My Beautiful Spine, but it turned into Book with Green. This book takes place in 1912. Or no, not 1912. Where did I get 1912 from? Must have had another book from 1912. 1930s. And it follows this girl, and she was a secretary for this woman, and she goes to the house, and all of a sudden she finds her boss with like dead blood everywhere and the words "run" in her blood. So she like runs to her room. She like finds this like notebook and a note from her mistress saying like, you need to take this, you need to run, you need to hide. Be careful who you trust. Don't trust the FBI. Don't trust the cops. Just go. So she takes off, and she like ends up in California. She's kind of redone her life. She's now kind of like a journalist working for this like gossip newspaper, and she's at this hotel. She's supposed to be meeting this woman, and she finds that woman dead. And like it starts this whole turn of events. She writes this article linking this actor, and like now people are like after her there, and it's like this chase, and it gets involved with the hotel's owner, who is a magician, like an ex-magician, so he's got his own storyline going on, and it was so good. I gave this book 4 stars. Again, not something that I like loved. There were some problems that I had with it, but it was really fun. I love the 1930s. I love Hollywood. I love mystery, so definitely good. I know I was told that the second book does not live up, and it's not as good, but I just added it to my Goodreads to be read list anyways, because I kind of want it anyways. So we'll see, but definitely this was another 4-star read. So 5 books, 4 stars. That same day, I knew that I had to power through. I knew that it was the last day. It was Sunday. I had to just get it done. So I then, after that, went and I put my hat on. I just had my hat. Where'd it go? I put my hat on, and I talked to Patrick with Groot language. It was really funny. He would like come up and he'd be like, "How you doing?" And I was like, "I am Groot." So we determined that the hat just makes me say, "I am Groot." Now the dogs stood apart. And I read Friend Request by Laura Marshall, and can you guess what I gave it? Oh yeah, another 4 stars. This book was a 3-star read all the way until the end, and then I was like, nah. The ending was good enough to like bump it to 4, but it was like a 3.75, and then it like bumped to 4. This follows a girl. She did something very terrible in her past in high school, but now it's been like 25 years later, and she's like living her life. She's divorced. She has a son, and she gets a friend request from somebody who died 25 years earlier. So she's trying to figure out what's going on. Is this a sick joke? Does this person actually like know what happened 25 years ago? Then her part in it, and she's getting creepy messages, and she's getting creepy, like, she feels like people are following her. They're having their high school reunion, so she's like really creeped out and trying to figure out what's happening. Guys, it was pretty slow leading up to the ending, but that ending oh my god. I did not see that coming. It was crazy. It was intense. That's for sure. So I did really enjoy this book. So I finished that one, and then I was like, okay. That was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, can I really do this? Can I really fit in a 7th book? I did it. I squished in my last book. I did my flip a coin read, which was Summer Island by Kristen Hanna. I don't know why I saved it for last. I didn't realize that flipping a coin was supposed to be for your first read. I thought it was just flip a coin for a read. So, unfortunately, I read that last instead of first, and I'm kind of mad that I didn't, force myself to read this in the beginning of the thing, because by the end I was like, I don't want to read a Kristen Hanna book. I just don't. And I did it anyways. I read Summer Island. Didn't love it. I gave it 3 stars. I'm starting to fall, I'm kind of mad that I started this, read a Kristen Hanna book every month kind of trend, because I am over how negative her books are. Her characters are always going through negative after negative after negative thing, and, it's not just one character going through a negative thing. They're all going through negativity, and I just can't stand that. I don't like picking up a book that I'm like, oh, contemporary, and I'm like, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. Not a fan. 3 stars. I don't know. This is taking all my willpower not to take all of my Kristen Hanna books that I have bought in preparation of reading a Kristen Hanna book every month and just donating them all. So, you let me know what you think I should do, because I'm kind of over her at this moment. The only book that I did not get to this week was The Light in Summer by Mary McNear. I just kind of wasn't feeling it. I felt like I was reading all these contemporary books, and I just, didn't want to. I was tired of the negativity coming from some of them, that I just, didn't want to put myself in that headspace, which is why I ended up replacing it with something else that didn't feel as negative, I guess you can say. I don't know. I had a really, really good booktube-a-thon. I hope you had a really good booktube-a-thon. Let me know if you met all your challenges, or what challenges you met, if you learned to love any new books. And I will see you guys really, really soon. Bye, everybody.